Lana Labonte, and I am here to uplift, support, inspire, and hopefully that empowers you to be the best version of you you're meant to be. Okay. Happy Labor Day, happy new moon, happy life, happiness. This is a theme I've noticed in my own life. Of course, I speak from my personal life and my personal experiences. That's what I do. And hopefully that encourages you to reflect and look inward, the into me I see, the intimacy that you should have with yourself first before you extend out looking for intimacy with others. Because if we can't have an intimate relationship with ourselves, how can we have an intimate relationship with anyone else? Because everything starts with self. There's a beautiful book by David R. Hawkins, Power versus Force, The Hidden Determinants of Human Behavior. And that is one of the main keys and takeaways from that book, is that everything starts with self. Everything you see in the world is a reflection of yourself. It is the mirror showing yourself right back to yourself. And so in this beautiful realm, this life, this craziness that you can label it whatever you want. You can see the good and you can see the bad, because it's full of duality. It's full of contrasts and polarity. It'll push you, it'll pull you, it'll tug you. You'll be at war within and war without, war around you, all about. You know, this is life. Life is this roller coaster of emotions, and it responds to your energy, your frequency, your vibration. The blueprint, the imprint of all your past and previous experiences, your traumas, your trials, your tribulations in life will continue to play out the more that you're stuck and attached to them. The more unresolved and unintegrated your past and your shadows, because see, those are all aspects of yourself. If you don't embrace it, it may end up finding its way to confront you. What you accept in yourself, you love and you adore and you just admire, and remind yourself that, you know what, we all got a little devil and we got a little angel in us. If you can own all those aspects, they won't own you. And your life won't turn into a shit show where all your shit's on display, all your shit's on show, right? You know, sometimes you think, oh my gosh, life's a shit show. Well, your shit shows, that's the only reason you would have a shit show. And until you are willing to confront and acknowledge your own shit, it will show. Because what you think you can avoid can never be avoided. Because where attention goes, energy flows. So even just the act of denial is repelling, but also pulling towards you. The things you deny in yourself are what stand out the most. The things you see in others you dislike are often the things within yourself you're unwilling to embrace and accept. So if you're willing to embrace and accept them in yourself, other people won't disrupt your peace. Other people outside of you won't show up to poke and provoke you. But life is like this. Life will serve you up on a silver platter, whether it's tasty or bitter. The sweetness depends on your ability to recognize it as an aspect of you, to say, oh wow, I am that too, which is a saying we say in Beyond Addiction and Kundalini Yoga, I am that too. When you own the things around you as reflections of you, and you go, wow, that's part of me too. When you do that, you take the shackles off, you take the handcuffs, the self-imprisonment. The things we are avoiding are the things that are actually poisoning our lives. They're the things that are actually creating the most resistance. Again, where attention goes, energy flows. And like I was just saying, it is literally when you are avoiding something, you're attracting more of it. This is what they didn't teach This is in what they didn't tell you about in the law of attraction and manifestation. You attract where you're at. If you have this promoting belief that you want something, but you have a demoting unconscious or subconscious belief saying you don't feel worthy of it and you don't deserve it, and whatever the story is back there, it's like fighting against yourself. I want it, but I don't feel I can have it. And this is the biggest struggle in humanity. Most of us have gone through this, trying to unravel, trying to reveal and peel away the onion layers. Oh my gosh, tears, you know, tears. Why isn't it, you know, why can't I have this? Or why is this happening to me? Playing the victim doesn't actually serve. But maybe questioning with the curiosity of a child, what is this situation here to teach me? What is this revealing to me about myself? What is it that I need to work on within myself? What needs to be released? What needs to be cleared? What old belief system, what is my BS really doing? What is the stuff, you know, the monkey mind, the record player? What are my most constant, repeated thoughts? Those are your belief systems, and they're like a record player. The deeper the groove, the harder to move, the easier you flow, and you keep on following it, and then wondering why. Why? Oh, woe is me. Why does this happen to me? Until you get very clear on what it is you desire, how can you aspire to the things that you want, wish, and desire? You have to be clear that often our past pain and contrasting experiences are what drive our desires, moving us away from them rather than towards them, because we don't realize we're doing that. This isn't always the best approach, but if you can see that that's something that's happening in your life, then you can find ways to sit and journal and kind of sit with it and go, oh, I claim to want this, but there's this old little story back here that keeps saying, you're never going to have that. You don't deserve that. It could be someone else's voice in your own head. Something that someone said to you at a very young age that you forgot, but it's still there. The deep imprints, the energy, the vibration, the frequency that is a part of your body, your being, that is deeply in your cells. I spoke about this, and I speak about it often. My personal experience in life has been around acknowledging that my physiology, the anticipation of defending myself, which I learned at a very young age with my mother, who used to say, you know how you girls would admit your guilt and how I knew something was up? It was never a question of whether or not we did something wrong. It's because the innocence of a child is that we don't feel we should have to lie, but we're taught to lie at a young age because we want to avoid pain. We want to avoid punishment, pain, punishment, disappointing someone we love. And so when we're scolded, we're taught that pain, we taught our first experience of pain. And so, because this is a big one, a lot of people don't ever stop to think about, when was it that you lost your innocence? It was the first time you experienced pain. You didn't feel safe. You didn't feel secure. And it could have been something where your parents scolded you and they didn't really properly explain it to you. They didn't give you the opportunity to process what was happening. You were told you did something wrong, but you didn't feel like you did something wrong. And then you're in trouble for it. And that's a total Jedi mind trick for a child. Hey, I'm innocent over here. I didn't think I did something wrong, and now I'm getting in trouble for this. And so I don't ever want to feel that feeling again, because that's painful. And so that's when children learn to lie, to avoid the pain. And then they grow up into being adults, and it doesn't go away. And most adults are running around doing the same thing. It's called coping mechanisms. It's life skills or survival skills, ways to get your needs met, because you're afraid someone's going to punish you for being authentic and true to you. And that spirals into so many other unfortunate events because, you know, an uncomfortable lie is easier to deal with than a painful truth, right? And most people are utilizing the pain avoidance, the fear of rejection, the underlying fear that most people all have, the fear of rejection, the fear of abandonment, the fear of ostracization, being, you know, cast out from society was the original old ones, where because we're humans, we are meant to be in community, in tribe, in groups. We're not here to be alone. We do need each other, and not in a toxic codependency, but there is an interdependency amongst us humans. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, if anything, we should be embracing and celebrating that and finding what we have in common, because that's what we are all looking for, is commonality. We're looking for people that we can resonate with, we vibe with, we have the same goals, needs, desires, and want to work towards something. And I found over the course of my life that a lot of times I've ended up in all these different circles, whether it's I was in the military, whether I was in the yoga community, whether I was in the personal development realm, and you end up going around all these people. And for myself, there's almost like this, you just kind of assume there's this obligatory like, well, we're in the same circle, so I guess we're friends. And then you find out sometimes, oh gosh, there was no common denominator there except for the one thing that you both were associated with. Maybe it was just because we did yoga together. And then you realize, oh my gosh, we have nothing in common. And I wouldn't even be friends with you if it wasn't for this community. And so therefore it's superficial. And we need to always be reevaluating this, because that's the key to our happiness, is not being inauthentic, but also recognizing where sometimes we're just going through the motions and we're doing things out of obligation because it's unspoken and expected. And it's an old story. It's not yours either. It's not mine. It's part of the societal cult of personality. It's this idea that we're all in this together. No, I'm sorry. There are going to be different groups that have other focuses, different values. Not everybody has to get along, but you should honor where everybody else is at, because you want to be honored where you're at. And so I'll go back to my mom and how she pointed out as a young child that I would go into defensiveness. Me and my sisters, she said to me, I knew you were guilty, and it wasn't because anybody ever told me. It's because you told on yourself. Because I would do things and say things like, it wasn't me, I didn't do it. Because I was afraid of getting in trouble, and I felt guilty for something based on being punished in the past. So how many of you out there have experienced that, to where physiologically and on a cellular level, you've got this imprint of defensiveness, like someone's going to attack you, like a rabid animal that's been beaten and beaten and beaten. And it's like, okay, no, like you're reactive. You're not observant and able to respond because you're in the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. You're in that chronic stress department. Your nervous system is wired for fight. It's wired for flight, as opposed to calm, cool, and collective in the parasympathetic nervous system. And this is like a lifelong tool. This is a lifelong, what's the word I'm looking for? We all have to navigate this on our own. I don't believe that there is any perfect solution on how you should go about your life, other than just try different things. See what resonates, see what works. It's use yourself as your own guinea pig litmus test, because some things you'll resonate with and some things you won't. You're not here to just go, okay, let me do this because so-and-so said I should do it. Tap into your inner wisdom. You're the guru, the G-U-R-U, the truth within you. Kinesiology, your body will always tell you if you trust it enough, and you need to learn to trust yourself. Because there's all sorts of stuff outside of you that will love to direct you but you need to be the director. You need to be the producer and the star and the writer of your own life, your own show, and not allow the external forces to try to navigate, manipulate you, and steer the course of your life. This is up to us. Each individual one of us has to be personally accountable and responsible for our choices, where we place ourselves, for our stories. We have to get right with ourselves. Otherwise, everyone else around us is just going to show us where we're not right. Isn't that the horrible part? It's very humbling when you know things about yourself that you're not comfortable with, and then somebody else points them out to you. It's almost like saying, you know, I really hate this about myself. And then someone comes along and goes, you know, you got this issue. It's like, thanks a lot, asshole. Like, I didn't fucking know that already. You know, and hey, that's the ego. The ego is very much like, I don't want to be told by someone else. That's why I say it's better you get right with yourself, own your shit, so it doesn't own you, and then the ego doesn't flip out on other people too. Because when somebody else points out your difficulties, your faults, your fears, your weaknesses, and you're not good with that, and you don't own that, it's going to feel like a personal attack. But when you become very aware of your stuff, and then somebody does point it out, you're like, yeah, thank you for pointing that out. I actually am aware of that. I appreciate it. So it doesn't feel like you have to react, because now you're responding and you have control over your nervous system and the way that you handle yourself. Because in this world, if you're not emotionally mature and able to control yourself, then you will find that you will be controlled by others. And that's outsourcing your power, which you don't want to do. Because you are an individual who needs to be in charge of you. Christopher says, should you still do it if it means losing all of your friends? Well, honey, I'm just going to tell you this. I have had so many friends come and go over the course of my life. And I can tell you at 50 years old, it's a natural course. It's natural that people will come and go. There will be people that come and go and sometimes return. There will be people, and they're just like seasons. They will come in for a season and they'll leave for a season, and you may never see that season ever again. We're all catalysts to each other's growth. And you have to actually be willing to recognize, wow, that person was very, instrumental in making me aware of something. And some people will say good, bad, ugly, whatever. Don't label it. The reality is that everybody serves us. Oh, well, thank you, Irish Andy. I appreciate that compliment. I'll take that. Fine wine. Yee. We are really the sum of all of our experiences. And so every single person you've ever encountered has contributed to you being you, as well as you giving them something back to themselves. If you can recognize that this is always a give and a take, it's never just a take or never just a give. Even where sometimes you feel depleted because you've overextended yourself, it doesn't mean it doesn't come back to you. Maybe just not from that individual. For people who are really overgiving or people pleasers or even takers, the law of the universe is one of the things is for certain. There will be balance. And its energetic balance always gets restored. So even when you feel depleted, you will be restored. But you have to believe and trust in this. This is just a part of life. I've just disliked sending hate from Australia. Well, thanks for sharing, Letty. God bless you. I don't know what that means. You know, there's a lot of hate in the world. And you know, it's like a cancer. And people wonder why, unfortunately, they end up in dis-ease. Because what you give out, you get back 3 times fold. It's a boomerang effect. What you do to another is what you do to yourself. When you point a finger, you got 3 fingers pointing back. It's a loaded gun. So what you point at another person turns into being always about yourself. What you hate about the other person is yourself. Yeah. So you can say whatever you like about me, and it has nothing to do with me, but everything to do with you. Sorry. I've had many people tell me, oh, you're so skinny. It's a reflection on you. What's the problem? What is your problem with you that you projected onto me? Because it's definitely not about me. Why would someone tell me that I look like I'm on chemo? Is it because you think I'm too skinny? Is it because you don't feel comfortable in your own skin that you would rather put someone else down? Because this is another key. There's more people in the world that find it they find it easier to put others down than to uplift them. And when you lift someone up, you lift yourself up. But when you put someone down, you're putting yourself down too. When you judge another, you break your own heart. So God bless you, sending you so much love, because you know what? I'm good with me. I don't need your permission, and I don't need your validation, nor whatever else you think you're sending me. So for those of you out there that do care, and actually anger is a sign of caring. Hate is even a low vibe form of love, because what you hate is really yourself, and that's really sad. So when people put others down, it just shows that they have a lot of anger within themselves. Now, if you truly want to get clear on what is it that makes you the happiest, you also have to be clear about what brings you pain and what is suffering, because this world is duality. It is polarity. If you didn't know what you consider bad, then you wouldn't know what was good. You need contrast to give you clarity, to actually show you the imbalance that's happening in the world. The imbalance of this or that is the trap, because neutrality is the balance of those two equalized, and they don't exist when you're in perfect harmony and balance. And so the question is, what is it that brings you happiness? What brings you joy? What brings you peace? How is your heart? How is your soul? Are you willing to see yourself as whole? Or do you see yourself in pieces and parts, fragmented? Because every aspect you deny in yourself is actually contributing to the whole, just as equally as the holes you feel that make you feel like you're void. You have a void in yourself. And that shows what you avoid. The wordplay you can't make up, because it's wordplay of void. What you avoid is what is causing your void, is feeling like something's missing. You know, we have this, in Italy, this means I'm grasping for something and I can't, it's like, it's elusive from me. I can't get it. And it's like, are you moving away from the pain, thinking you're moving in the direction of your desire? But it's also taking you to more pain. It's also giving you more of what it is you dislike, because again, where energy flows, where attention goes, energy flows. When you are trying to avoid something, you're just attracting more of that. And if you can't recognize the gift in where you're at, because the avoidance of something is also equally gifting it to you. When you're looking for problems to solve, that continues to represent more problems. It's a gift. The universe will always give you where your attention is going. If you think, oh my gosh, everything's a problem, then you're always going to get a problem. If you think that you have to solve something because you think everything's broken, the reality is there's nothing broken. It's just a matter of embracing what is. But again, we are energy, vibration, and frequency, and your body is always telling. Your body is the story. It tells the story. It shows where you've been, where you're going, where you're at. And so if you're somebody who is always tense, always holding your breath, you're like, I'm shallow breathing, you're afraid to, walking on eggshells is a good example. Like when you're very shallow breathing, or you're just, even if it's anticipatory breathing versus long, so you can find that it might have to do with a life of walking on eggshells. If you feel like tense up in here, it's like, What are you shouldering? What is it you can't let go of? Like what you're holding onto is also holding you back. So if in something in your past, that trauma that's unresolved and those shadow aspects of yourself that are not integrated is what's running the show of your life. It's creating more of the struggle and the strife. And we can always change that. We always have an opportunity to do that. And we have to be careful about how we're comparing ourselves, how we're judging ourselves. We are our biggest, worst enemy as far as comparison. Every judgment you make is you comparing yourself to the situation based on your past experience. And it's really easy to do that because you can look out and not want to look in. And when you're not willing to look in, then you go without. So whatever's appearing outside of you is always a clue to what's going on within you. If you see a problem around you that you're unable to deal with, what is it really that's going on within you that is so difficult to confront or accept? Because that right there, we need to learn to accept ourselves, to forgive ourselves, to give ourselves grace, to have this pause, slowing down. How many people this past month in August realized they had to slow down? They didn't have much choice. There were things that had to be put on hold. I'm the first person to tell you, I don't always have the most patience. I want it done like that. But at least if you're in awareness of that, it makes it less stinging. It doesn't hold as much power. Again, when you own it, you recognize it within yourself, it lessens its hold and grip on you. You can't turn around and not know yourself and then act like, why did that happen? I mean, technically, we all kind of know on a superficial, lower level that, yeah, there's something going on inside of me. Yeah, I got something I haven't dealt with. I mean, you know yourself, even if you can talk it out with people. And that's usually the best way for you to kind of reflect, along with meditation, along with journaling. Friends who you feel safe with, that you can share things with, but not just everybody, because that's another thing. Don't just loosey-goosey, just reveal all your stuff to any random person, because they don't always have your best interest at heart. And sometimes this is the thing about loneliness. Lonely people will often look for somebody who's willing to listen and won't even realize that they may be revealing more about themselves than they should be revealing. And then wondering how that person or something happened to them. Like, I'm saying this because there's been a lot of scam stuff going on. And I witnessed it with family members, and I'm like, wow, I cannot believe somebody could be so trusting of a complete stranger, but not of their own family, who is consistently there for them. And this is a theme, I know it's not just me, that for myself, if I know people can turn to me and they trust me, and yet at the same time, they rely and they feel enabled to the point where they think they're entitled to me, but yet when I offer and say, hey, this is a bad situation. Oh, no, it's not. This person's trustworthy. You don't want to listen to me, but later on, when it happens that it gets revealed, that's not on me. And it's really sad because you can't fix and you can't help anybody who's unwilling to see their own shit. And those are great examples of when a person doesn't know how to trust themselves, they'll externalize it. And what I mean by that, anybody out there, please let me know in the comments. Have you ever had somebody that always came to you, tells you everything, and you're the listener, and you pretty much know the patterns, and then they go and do something, and they don't really want your advice. They don't want any suggestion. They don't want to hear what you have to say, but they just want you to listen. And then you watch them go out and do the same stupid shit that their patterns predict. And you're really like, well, they didn't want my advice. And then they come back and they bitch about it. And you're like, yeah, This is a challenge because you may want to help, but you can't help those who are unwilling to hear or listen and aren't actively asking for the help. It's tough when those people are close to you and you want to be able to support them, but they don't support themselves. And they feel like the victim, but they never stop to see how they victimize themselves. Because everything starts with self, you also have to be humble to your own motives. Because when you've been victimized, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person or that that person's a bad person. But again, energy, vibration, frequency, it's the energy blueprint within your body that is attracting that. So if someone takes advantage of you, are you lying to yourself when the signs and the signals come up, telling yourself a story? Oh, they're a good person. Oh, they wouldn't do that. I want to believe the best in them, as opposed to all the red flags that they just showed you. Or this ego mind that says, oh, I gotta show them, I gotta prove myself better, you know, and in reality, it's not better. Sometimes it's just disengage and stop playing, because games people play, and they're exhausting if you get involved in other people's drama and their trauma. It's always a choice. There are no mistakes, just choices. The moment you think you made a mistake, just make a new choice. Give yourself that grace. Make a new choice. But we can go back to the ultimate underlying driver of humanity is that we all want to belong. We all want to be part of a community. We want to be a part of a tribe. We want to be a part of something bigger and better than ourselves. We want to believe we have purpose and something to contribute to others. We want to be seen as important. We want to feel loved. We want to feel connection. So of course, we join communities. We engage in these different events and things to bring us together. You have the courage to put yourself out there. It really does. It takes courage to be vulnerable, to extend yourself, to be seen, to connect. And it's something we need to constantly practice, because practice makes progress. And the more we're willing to put ourselves out there, the more opportunities will present themselves to us. And so in this crazy world, although we want that, there are also a lot of people who want a savior to save them, to take away the misery. And then what happens when you have a savior? You put them on a pedestal. And the moment that savior falls off that pedestal, which they didn't put themselves up there. If you ever place someone on a pedestal, or pedestalize them, as I say, and they fall, you'll find yourself get angry. And most of the times people try to externalize it and say, that person, wait a minute, it started with you. That's your idea of that person because you put them on the pedestal. The only person it ever comes back to is you and your judgment and your comparison and your desire for them to be something they're not. So again, this is going back to idolatry. Never idolize, false idolizing and worship outside of yourself. That in itself is a downfall, because you're expecting them to meet your expectations, right? You are projecting your expectations, and when they don't meet them, who is to blame? Is it them or you? And we all go through this. We all go through this with people we love, people close to us. It doesn't even have to be on a major pedestal, but you've got a concept of what you expect of that person, and that's an attachment. And that's a setup for failure. And I was having this conversation. So I think in the collective, there is this theme around holding out, despite, like the savior complex, this whole idea of like, I mean, I hate to say it, politics is usually the best example of this, but most people want to believe the best of someone despite all the bad things they've shown. You've seen their patterns. They've shown you who they are. But then you turn around and you're holding out, expecting them to do something different. That's karma, and that's the definition of crazy and insanity, all in one. And so who is to blame for you denying the lies, for your comfortable, what would I say, the uncomfortable lies versus, no, the convenient truths, the convenient lies versus the uncomfortable truths. No matter what they've shown you, you still hold out thinking they're going to do something different. That's on you, because you're not believing them when they show you. You're not allowing yourself to be true to you. That's not integrity. That's misalignment. And that's where all the dis-ease comes from, is the idea that you want them to prove to you that you're right. That's ego. Your ego needs them to validate this unspoken expectation because you put them on a pedestal. Oh, no, they're really a good person. It's a projection of your own self, of showing that you want to be also put on a pedestal and held to that higher regard, and that you would want somebody to do the same for you. And you're not addressing that motive, the fact that you would want people to see the best in you despite some of your shortcomings. So getting out of that victimhood mindset that the person is not, oh no, they're a good person, but yet you're allowing them to lie to you. Who's the real liar? It's not that person, because they're showing you and you're just not listening to it. It's you lying to you, not that person lying to you. This is where we tend to outwardly project what's being done to us instead of seeing how we're equally part of the illusion. This is where personal accountability, personal responsibility is so very important. If you continue to outsource your power to people who are liars, that makes you a liar yourself, because it's like birds of a feather flock together. It's like the monkeys flinging shit at each other and nobody's getting anywhere. It's not contributing to your peace. It is not contributing to your growth. If anything, it's pulling you down and keeping you in this loop, this system of disempowerment. It takes a lot of courage to step into your power, to call things out as they are, and to not lie to yourself. It takes a lot of vulnerability to be true to you and to let others see that too, instead of allowing it to continue to pursue this idea that, oh, but I want to believe the best in everyone. That is not timid. That's weak. That is submissive. That's do whatever you will to me, but please don't deny me, don't reject me, don't abandon me mindset. And so in order to really strengthen your nervous system, you got to go through some discomfort. Yes, you have to lose some friends, especially if those friends aren't aligned with your integrity. You could think back to when you were in school and how, sometimes you hung out with a group of friends and there was always maybe that one person that was a little shady and shifty, yet everybody kind of just like, they're just the way they are, enabling the behavior. Now as an adult, you look back and go, ooh, glad that wasn't me, right? Or maybe it was you. We have to own our shit or it will own us. And our body is going to always tell on us. So for me, over this past year and this pursuit of happiness, because you have to know where you haven't been happy sometimes in order to go in the direction of what is truly your peace and your happiness. And it usually starts in the body. So going back to what I said about my mom and when I was younger and, you kids would pretty much tell on yourselves, because as children, we did not want to have the guilt on our complex. Like children are very intuitive. There's no need for a child to lie, but the loss of innocence happens when you are told that you did something wrong, because that's painful. Like the idea that you upset or you somebody you admired told you did wrong. You're bad. You're in trouble. That authoritarian experience of like disempowering you in your truth and your innocence. And you lost that innocence because of the fact that you felt like in the eyes of the parent or the authority figure that you did something wrong. And you still don't know it because a lot of times adults weren't able to articulate and to share with you, what does that really mean? What does that mean that, you know, that I did something wrong? And so that's your first experience of feeling unsafe, uncertain, and unpredictable events. Like, oh my gosh, now what? Like, I don't ever want to go through that. I don't want to feel that feeling again. And if you didn't have a conscious parent or a person to tell you, hey, listen, this is the reason, then you're still left hanging. And that created an imprint. And I think that's an imprint in a lot of humans, especially when we all went to schools and we all had to deal with, you know, getting along and going along and all the indoctrination. Things that just didn't make sense, that a lot of us, I know myself, ask questions, and even just asking a question, you get in trouble. It's like, wait a minute. I'm asking a question because I'm uncertain, and that yet you're going to punish me from asking a question? That doesn't make sense to me. But I will say for myself, I continue to ask questions, and I always will ask questions because there is nothing wrong with the question. What's wrong is when someone who doesn't know how to answer the question or isn't accountable or personally responsible enough to answer a question and realize, wow, I don't know. I don't have the answer to that question. Maybe I should go find out. Maybe I should help you, versus feeling threatened by your question. That only reveals them, not you. And that's really like turning the power back in within you versus giving it out because, well, I just asked you a question. You don't have power over me because you got defensive about it. If anything, it sounds like you've got a little bit emotional instability over there, that you're not stable enough to handle questions. There might be a mental illness involved there. That happens. There's a lot of that going on. Imagine, though, how we all hold into our bodies this resistance to rejection, whatever our fears are, whatever abandonment issues we have, the desire to connect with others and like, you know, I'm a people pleaser and I can't be alone, or codependency. And like, there's just so many things going on that you have to tap into your body and find out what is going on within me and where do I hold it? Because when the tension, this is my lesson, the tension is directing your attention. That's what I've learned from my personal experience, that my tension was always about directing my attention deeper, to treasure, to trust that the tension is simply a signal to gain my attention and awareness that there's something I'm still holding on to and I'm willing to fully release and let go of. What do you got a grip on? Tension is you holding on to something. It's not allowing yourself to let go. It's not allowing yourself to be vulnerable. It's not allowing yourself to soften. Tension is the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. That's you and your sympathetic nervous system unable to rest and digest in the parasympathetic nervous system. That's where recovery happens. If you're in chronic stress, then you have high cortisol levels. And you have to check your body. You have to check in with this is the intuition, the into me I see, the inner guidance system. It's always telling you. And that we can create whatever we desire, but we have to move past the stumbling blocks and the hangups of comparing or recounting our past. That keeps repeating the cycle, attracting the unresolved traumas to play over and over again. We all do it. We've all done it. But until we address the energetic imprint in our bodies, that cellular memory, everything is, you know, it's imprinted because we are 70 to 80% water, and water has memory too. But we will continue to relive those same stories unless we address them. Remove them from the dregs, what we have suppressed, because it is expressed. Our body expresses what we suppress until we address it. So if I'm anticipating a fight or expecting resistance, my body's already going to tense up as a result. I know this for myself. I've experienced it. This past year has been very revealing that I didn't realize I was still doing it. I was like, wow, I'm already anticipating a fight or a resistance to something. I have to really sit with that. Why am I still doing that? My life experiences have taught me that it's not always that way, that just because one experience happened a certain way doesn't mean it's going to repeat itself unless I anticipate it, because that's how powerful we are as creators and manifestors. So the body tensing up as a result of that anticipation is actually preparing for the scene to be played out. We need to be willing to let go and release it, or that holding that we're habitually in will continue to attract it. We attract where we're at. This is why it's so important to move your body. If you feel tension, if you feel dis-ease, discomfort, you're dissing your comfort, you're dissing your ease, you move your body, get out in nature, get in water, let it cleanse over you, let it release, let it be like a baptism, a christening, a rebirth. Allow yourself to be cleansed of whatever it is. And if that could be your practice, is the water washing over you. And every time it washes over, it takes a layer off or two. This is the beauty of nature. It is there for our healing, wholeness, our life, our joy, our play. So, okay, so what until you can address it, it will continue to create the story you're living out. You really need to tap in. The body is your GPS. And you really want to be the director of your own life and not have someone directing you and telling you what to do. Some people find that easier in some sense, but I don't know how. That's exhausting. This will help you. The more you're aware of where your blockages are, where you're in resistance, will also show you where you've been holding yourself back from happiness, from your peace. And this is where we need to get clear, is you have to be clear and tap into your unresolved pain and unintegrated shadow to recognize where your peace exists. A lot of times it's the contrast that really reveals the most to us. Seeing things as they are also can help you direct and change your course. You know, course correction is a real thing. Okay, I'm not happy in this situation. I can make a choice to change, but only you can make that choice. Nobody can do it for you. I mean, okay, let me back that up. This is a preface. The longer you stay in a situation that is unhealthy for you, that is not in alignment with you. I'm speaking from personal experience. I've had this happen a few times. The universe will come in and will work on your behalf to clear the way. And if you don't make the choice will be made for you by the universe, because that's an imprint and an energy, vibration, frequency. Again, the laws of the universe are in balance and harmony, even when you're not. And sometimes it takes a poke and provoke and a cataclysmic event in your life or health crisis or something to wake you the heck up, to get you out of the situation. If you don't make the choice to change, sometimes it will be forced upon you. And usually you know when it's coming because you feel it as you're getting to it. You're just, if you don't make the choice, it will be made for you. And I'll tell you, it sucks. It's a blow to the ego. It's not even that it's you. It's just this. This is what gets in the way. The heart will never lead you astray. It's the head that gets in the way. The head is the thing that typically gets hurt. Like when people talk about, oh, my heart was broken. Your heart wasn't broken. Your ego was just busted. Huge difference. The ego doesn't like to be wrong. The ego wants to be right. See me? I was right. And the heart's like, oh, I'm so sorry. That's not how that works. Because the heart just wants to be happy. It wants to be in play and peace and joy and love. And the head, boy, it can get too big for its own britches. But you also have to learn to discern your own head and your own heart. And that is a huge part of the body's imprint. It will show you where there's balance and where there's imbalance, where there's pain, where there's pleasure. Because always remember, when you numb the pain, you numb the joy, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. You cannot numb the pain without numbing the joy, because they're in the same pain receptors in the body. This is why addiction is so prevalent, because people are trying to numb pain with chemicals, substances, behaviors, you name it. But then they're always chasing the high, because when they numb the pain, they can't feel the joy and they can't feel the pleasure. Just like pain medications. For anybody else out there, if you are looking to numb a physical pain, you're going to have trouble with feeling pleasure. The minute you utilize something to numb out that pain or to reduce it, you've also done the same to the pleasure receptors. They're not separate. They're one and the same. But most people aren't tuned into that. And if you're not tuned into your body, most people are tuning out and tapping out. That will be the demise. That will be the biggest travesty. And typically that's what usually leads to the biggest diseases. The inability to address something that you have suppressed turns into the biggest unrest, the biggest health crisis. And just in recognizing your pain avoidance can lead you back to your pleasure acceptance. You can't have one without the other, because they're two halves of the whole. But when you are in peace, when you are in balance, you will feel neither. You'll just feel at peace, because that's neutrality. There's no extreme here and no extreme there. Contrast is simply extreme. Extreme in one direction or the other. When you see the two halves of the whole in one direction or the other, you're just showing that the pendulum is swinging a little far to the right or a little far to the left, where the balance is in the center. That's why the masters, the teachers all said, follow the middle path. Neutrality is the way. Detachment. We're not talking about complete obliteration of all these worldly things. I hear people talk about materialism, and I'm like, we are in this physical realm. This is a material body. You cannot disassociate from all of that just because you think everything is bad. Everything serves. It's you seeing the God in all. If you can't see God in all, you can't see God at all. Everything is an aspect of the higher source, is a collective collaboration. And it takes your consciousness and your awareness to tap into and recognize your own power within that and your own contribution. And it comes from within. I don't know. What do we think about that? Let me know in the comments how that lands for you. Because there's a lot of crazy stuff in the world. But if you're more concerned with what's going on out there, you'll lose the benefits and the beautiful opportunities over here. This is Satan's den. And it's always going to be there to try to trip you up and take you out. It's up to you to keep your focus and attention in the direction of your path. Anytime something takes you out over here, it's keeping you off your focus. You've got a purpose, you've got a path. Don't let things trip you up. Don't let them take you out. Don't allow them to take you out of your peace. Because literally they take a piece and you're left without peace. But that's a choice. You're an adult. All of us here are adults. Except for the children. I mean, I'm not speaking to the children here. But when you can recognize that you are the adult. Anything that you have to deal with your inner child is you reparenting yourself, is you tapping into your inner child, you going, what do I need here? What do you need, my little one? What is it that you are hungry for, that you are needing in this moment? What messages do you have for me? Do you have any insight, any wisdom? You'd be surprised. Even your younger inner child has some wisdom that you might have forgotten. From those days when you knew how to play and let the day run away. Up in the tree, building a tree house, making a fort, exploring the woods and nature, going for a swim with your friends, playing hopscotch, kickball, all the things. All the things that when you were a child that parents were like, you have to come inside, you have to stop playing, and you never wanted to go back inside. And at the same time, you thought, I can't wait to be an adult because when I get older, I'm gonna play and do it on my own time. And then you became an adult and you're still following other people's orders and you're still on other people's time. And what happened to the play? What happened to the joy? Now, as an adult, it's time to reclaim that. That's what we're here for. No more pain. Well, I mean, there will still be some pain, discomfort, because as we grow, there are growing pains. But don't be a pain. Just recognize that there's purpose in pain. And it also allows you to appreciate more the pleasure that when you receive it, the joy in the life when you're experiencing it, and the beautiful people that show up to you as a result of it. Every single one of us is contributing something to the whole. So never think that you're too small or too old or too tiny or too fat or this, that, or the other, whatever labels, a bunch of bullshit, it's all stories. But just know, if you're here, you're a part of the bigger picture. And that's a gift, and that's a blessing. And so therefore, I honor you, and I thank you for playing in this fun little realm. We can make it fun, or we can go through the doldrums of, oh, no. Let's play. Let's play. But get your body right and start to use your body as your guidance. Tap into the inner wisdom, the body's wisdom. Everything you need to know is within you. You don't need to outsource. You don't need to go looking for the answers from other people. Just get softened and silent within yourself. And everything will be revealed to you if you're willing to listen. There's a buggy. Sorry. Dead buggy. Ew. All right, on that note, dead bugs away. Boop. So much love, so many blessings to you. I believe in you, and you should too. Trust yourself. That is the bigger takeaway. When you learn to trust your body, you're going to learn to trust yourself more. You have to tap from this, you have to drop into here. The head is always going to try to run the show. You need to program it. You need to teach it. You need to master your mind. As I say, master your breath so you can master your mind. And then you can master your life and master your domain. Again, have a blessed night, day, evening, wherever you are in the world.